Hey guys, it's Drunken Furies, and today we're going to be going over the most recent blog post from the Diablo 2 developers on patch 2.4. Now this was just released probably an hour or two ago, so we're going to go over it. I did look at it briefly beforehand just to see the changes, and I have to say I am actually pretty excited about some of the changes. So we're going to jump right into it. So first they go over ladder. They're going to be releasing ladder. I'm not really sure when. I think they said maybe in a couple weeks after PTR is done. They do plan on releasing PTR on the 2nd to test these changes that are going to be made. Next we have Uber Diablo changes. Now I'm a single player or person, so I really don't care. It looks like they maybe made it slightly easier to spawn Diablo clone, so you guys can check that out if you're interested in that. But the most exciting part is all the class changes, so we're going to go over these, and I did briefly look at it, so I kind of know what to expect. So first we have the Amazon. It looks like they changed the impel speed by 30%, or they increased the animation speed by 30%. So impale, if you guys don't know, it does a massive amount of damage to a single target, but it is extremely slow. I still don't see this being used even with 30% animation speed, because it does only attack one target. So I mean, cool, but I don't think it's really going to matter. So Plague Javelin is next. It's no longer fixed duration of 3 seconds, but the damage scaling has been adjusted to compensate, it looks like. So there is going to be damage increases, 20% at level 1 and 33% at max level. Now, damage buff, but Plague Javelin is not that great of a skill. The radius is not very long, and you have to have monsters run into the poison, so I really don't see this being used even with the damage buff. Now next, probably one of the most exciting changes is multi-shot now receives synergy from guided arrow. Now we're not talking about like 4 or 5% or 6% damage. This is 12% damage per level, so a massive damage buff to multi-shot. Now if you guys have never played physical Bowazon, the damage was really lacking for the amount of high runes and gear you had to invest in the character. That character could barely do like Players 3 Chaos Sanctuary, and it would take forever. So I'm really excited to see this change, a massive damage increase. So next we have Immolation Arrow. The cooldown is reduced by 40%. That's a massive cooldown. I'm not sure what it was before. I know that there was some people griping about it because it still had a massive cooldown. So 40%. We'll still see if it does anything, if it's going to be worth investing into. It is a fire skill. So I know they are a little more restricted. I know they did change around some of the areas, so I guess we'll have to see. That'll be one that'll need to be tested to see if it's actually good. Now, this one tying into the multi-shot, we're getting 12% physical damage per level as a synergy to guided arrow from multi-shots. So another big buff. Now these are the two that you use if you're running a physical Bowazon, multi-shot and guided arrow. So massive damage buffs. It'll be really nice to see if that, I mean, it should. It's a massive damage buff, 12%. So I'm really excited to play this. Looks like really good changes for the Bowazon. Now Strafe next, also getting synergies from multi-shot and guided arrow. So we're totaling 15% damage between the two skills. So again, another big damage buff. Now the question is, will Strafe or will multi-shot be better? I honestly think I'll still prefer multi-shot just because it has a much bigger area that it covers. And Strafe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe you're locked in the animation shooting your arrows. I don't know if they changed that or not, but you used to be locked in that animation. You have to fire all your arrows before you can move. So a little less safe. It does look like they're giving it a pretty hefty damage increase. I know before they had changed it so it didn't start at 3/4 weapon damage. So we'll have to see, but really good changes to the physical Bowazon. Excited to play that. Next we have the Assassin. Looks like they just changed one of the tooltips, and then Blade Fury had an attack rating increase. Okay, cool. Doesn't really matter. Barbarian now deals extra damage with leap attack, scaling per level. It decreased the jerkiness, height. I mean, this is more of a movement skill, so honestly, them buffing it or changing it's not really going to matter too much. So next we have Sword Mastery. They renamed it to Blade Mastery. I'm not sure why. I guess because they're adding it to daggers as well. Interesting. So daggers. What daggers could you use with a barb? I'm thinking like Flesh Ripper. I don't know. Is it really gonna change too much? Probably not. And they increased the attack bonus. Interesting, but what daggers are gonna use with a barbarian? Really, the only one I can think of is Flesh Ripper. That's the only one you would use. Okay, next Axe Mastery. So attack rating, attack bonus. It looks like that's the same for all of these: polearm, spear, mace. Now, this one, Throwing Mastery. Okay, so we increased the attack bonus. These next two are really, really good quality of life changes. So they added the chance to not consume quantity up to 50% with Throwing Mastery. So if you're running Eth weapons, even just normal weapons, it's going to be really nice because you're going to have a chance to not consume part of that quantity. So you're not going to have to repair as much. And if you've played a throw barb, you know that you can do maybe one run, and then if you're wearing ethereal items, you have to wait, or you have to, if you're wearing non-eth items, you have to go back and repair. So really nice quality of life change. Also, critical strikes with throwing weapons now replenish quantity. So they did add crit strike to Throwing Mastery. You also have tons of other gear. They say crit strike, so I'm wondering, is this also going to apply to Deadly Strike with replenishing quantity? We'll have to see. They did add crit strike to Throwing Mastery before, so I'm interested. It doesn't really say in the comments whether or not that's going to be true, but if it is added to Deadly Strike as well, that would be really nice. So solid changes. I did test this character out. I really would like to see some massive buffs to Grimoire. I don't know if there was some kind of a bug or something, but it just did not perform at all. It was supposed to decrease their physical resistance, but it didn't seem like it did anything. So maybe there was a bug. We'll have to look deeper into the post. Next, we have the Druid. Armageddon. So remove the Hurricane skill requirement for Armageddon. So you're not going to have to invest those as like 3 or 4 skill points to get to Hurricane to unlock Armageddon. So you're going to have a little more leeway with your skill points. So that's nice. They also increased the damage radius by 33% and increased the drop rate by 30%. So massive buffs to Armageddon. This normally is kind of like supplemental damage anyways, but it is nice to see them kind of buffing that, because it did definitely need the buff. I honestly would like to see even more of a change, probably like even more of a damage buff and increased drop rate, but still really solid changes to start out with. Okay, next we have Summoning. You can have everything, Spirit Wolves, Dire Wolves, and Bears, all summoned at the same time. Now, is this character going to be a really good endgame build? Probably not. It is cool, though, that you can have all of your summons up at the same time. I know they did up the damage of a lot of these things, but I still don't think it's going to compare to any of the like meta builds, but it's cool. It's cool. I'll definitely try it out. Next, we have Werewolf. Uses the new attack speed calculation and increased attack speed cap. They doubled the attack speed cap. So I know they did change like the attack speed, how it was calculated. Not sure is it a buff, is it a nerf? I don't know. Until somebody in the community does all the calculations and releases like a calculator, I won't really know. It looks like it'd be a buff. Increased speed between attacks 40%. That's a lot. So I'm assuming it's a buff. We might have to take a look at the comments and see what they said. So Werebear, new attack speed calculation, speed cap increased, almost double damage per level. That's massive. Defense increased, and cannot be erupted while performing attacks or skills. Interesting. So I'm interested because Fury said it was uninterruptible, but it was actually interruptible. So did they change that? If anybody knows, leave a comment for me, because I'm not sure if they actually changed that. So it looks like they changed it for the Werebear, but maybe not for Fury? I'm not really sure. And then Maul grants 3% attack speed per charge. A lot of attack speed changes, so I'm not really sure. Is it going to be worse? Is it going to be better? I'm going to read the comments. So we've debated on the best way to bring shape-shifting druids forward. After much discussion, we're going to commit to the modern way of calculating attack speed for the wereforms. We've rebalanced the werewolf to allow that form to reach even faster speeds than it previously could. So it is a buff for the werewolf. So really big change for the Fury Druid, going to be even better than it was before. As for Werebear, we wanted to deliver the fantasy of a powerful, unstoppable killing machine. We've introduced uninterruptible attacks and skills, which is Fury going to be uninterruptible? I don't know. Leave a comment, please, guys. As well as increased damage and defense. This will change the way players have played the Werebear in the past, so we feel like it's more in line with the intended fantasy. For players who love their fast Werebear builds, we've added attack speed bonuses to Maul, but we hope the new Werewolf changes offer the same playstyle as. So, Werewolf, less damage, faster attack. Werebear, more damage, slower attack. So it looks like they nerfed the speed on the Werebear, but they increased the speed on the Werewolf. Interesting. We'll have to see if these changes will make the Werebear better with the decreased attack speed. I mean, they do have Maul. We'll see if that actually matters. But I do like the changes to the Werewolf. Fury Druids are going to be even better. Next, we have the Necro. Looks like changes to the Golems. Decreased mana cost, increased damage, decreased mana cost, damage, and then Holy Fire bonus from 1 to 2. Honestly, not that big of a change. Who cares? I mean, where are you going to run these? What character? Like for me, like if I play Poison and Necro, I use the Iron Golem because you can get an insight out of it for free. I mean, if you use like a... I don't know. I don't think it's really going to matter. Cool. I mean, you guys let me know. You guys can test these out, but I don't think it's really going to matter. All right, for the Paladin. Now, there were some interesting ones on here, or one of them that I wanted to go over. So Thorns deals flat damage, and then also does percent damage taken when hit. Probably still not going to be used, but it looks like they buffed the damage. So you're doing even more. Holy Fire. So with all the Holy Fire, Holy Freeze, and Holy Shock, they did nerf it slightly. It's still going to do the 200% when the enemy is in melee range. So you're going to be using Zeal on all these characters. So you're going to be in melee range, and all the ones close to you are going to be getting hit for 200% damage. So a slight nerf, but Ordins are still going to be really strong. Fire synergy increased to 18 to 21%, and the maximum area damage values incorporate the maximum proximity damage bonus. So I think that means that the tooltip is going to display the bonus when it's at 200% damage. I could be wrong. Could be the other way around. They kind of worded that weird. So same for Holy Freeze. Looks like they didn't change any synergies. Same with Holy Shock. They didn't change any synergies. Still going to be really strong. 200% damage on that. Sanctuary. Honestly, the aura only does damage to the undead, and it only adds magic damage. So Sanctuary, who cares? So now this one. This is a really, really, really big one. So Holy Bolt now does damage to demons in addition to the undead, and Fist of the Heavens now does damage to demons in addition to undead. So when I first read this, I'm thinking Hammered In or Fist of the Heavens. Which one's going to be better now? I mean, before you could only deal damage to the undead with Holy Bolt, but Holy Bolt maxed out actually does an insane amount of damage. I'm going to have to go and see the actual damage, but I remember doing it before, and it was insane. So this is... Are we going to have a new meta? Is it going to be FoHers for Chaos Sanctuary farming instead of Hammered Ins? We'll have to see. I did see some videos of an FOH Paladin doing pretty well, even with only being able to do damage to the undead. So we'll have to see. I think this build might be a sleeper, or it was a sleeper. It might not be a sleeper anymore. So I'm excited to definitely test this one out. All right, so for Sork, Nova cost, the mana cost was 15, it's now 13. Okay, Nova did require a lot of mana, so I'd like that change. And it looks like that's all the classes. So before we go on, the classes that I'm most interested to do are going to be an FOHer. That's a massive change from what it was before. Fury Druid, it looks like it got attack speed buff, so I mean, it's going to be able to attack faster. Cool. Summoning Druid, that'll be an interesting one to try, but is it going to be good? Probably not still. Throw Barb, I really wanted them to put even more damage buffs on it, but it looks like they just kind of made a quality of life change with the quantities of your throwing weapons. So it's nice and it was needed, but I still want to see a little bit more with the damage. Assassin, nothing. Amazon, really big changes for the Amazon. Bowazons, come on. I'm really excited to finally play a Bowazon. I have one, but I never used it because it's so freaking bad. So I'm excited. The question is multi-shot or strafe going to be better? Who knows? It's probably going to be kind of situational where you're farming. But really cool changes. So let's go down. Those are probably the ones that I'm most excited to test. All right, so Mercenaries. The Act 1 Archer can now use Amazon bows. So now instead of making your Faith or your Mist in a diamond bow or a great bow or something like that. Actually, I'm not even sure how many runes is Mist. Honestly, I don't know. I never made it because it didn't seem to be as good as Pride was. So Amazon bow, so you can get the extra skills. Is it really going to change too much? I mean, you're not going to be increasing the aura skill level. You're just going to be increasing the whatever skill it has, like freezing arrow, whatever. So I guess it'd be kind of a damage buff and whatever. I'm not sure if they added any other kind of skills to these or not. So probably not going to matter too much. And can now gain plus Amazon skills from gear. Okay, just like the bows. So, I mean, is it really going to change too much? Probably not. Like, I'm trying to think of some items with Amazon skill bonuses. Like Valkyrie Wing. I'm sure there are some other ones. I just can't think of them right now. I mean, is this really going to take the place of like the standard? Like, is it going to take the place of like a Vamp Gaze or whatever the one is for Bowazons, the Bone Visage? I don't remember. But is it going to take the place of that? Probably not. At least in my opinion, from what I can see, probably not. This one. So Act 3, they swap Frozen Armor for Chilling Armor. That's not going to do anything. But if you guys read this post, like right when it was released, they actually had another one below this for the Act 3 Iron Wolf. And that was they changed Firebolt to a Redemption Aura, which is what we've been wanting. We have told them we want auras for all of these other mercenaries. That's how you're going to make them good. That's probably the easiest way, is adding auras. So it looks like they did have that in there. I'm not sure if maybe it's a change they're going to do later or not, or it was something that maybe they're just talking about and accidentally got added, but they did have the Act 3 Merc having a Redemption Aura. Now, is that going to be something you're going to use on an endgame character? I mean, maybe not. It'll be really nice for a playthrough having that Redemption Aura, taking away all the corpses and stuff and healing you. But they took it off, so I don't know. Maybe they have some plans for all these other mercenaries. Maybe that was kind of a test. So we'll see. I would like to see some auras. But so far, okay. Now let's look at Act 5. Barbarian warrior can now gain plus barbarian skills from gear. Okay, just like the Act 1 Merc. Now this, a new ferocious barbarian is available for hire from Qualkek. These warriors cannot use two-handed swords but are well trained in the art of dual wielding, utilizing Frenzy Taunt and Iron Skin. They lure enemies in and unleash a fierce barrage of attacks. Now this is cool. I'm thinking like dual grief kind of setup. Like that could put out some massive damage. That'll be interesting to see. I think this might actually be a really good mercenary for just putting out damage. Maybe with like an Ariets. Could use like the standard G-Face and a Fortitude. I don't know. We'll see. But a dual grief Act 5 Merc or like grief with like a beast could be really interesting. I'm interested to try this out because this could actually be really good. All right. So next. Rune words, plague can be used in claws and daggers in addition to swords. So it was swords before, but now claws and daggers. Plague, if I remember right, was the one that had lower res, but it really wasn't that good from what I saw. So is it really going to matter? Maybe you can use it on like a martial arts sin. I mean, they did change the blade mastery for the barbarian to use daggers now, so maybe they want you to use it on Barb. I have no idea. Honestly, I don't think that's that big of a change. This one is interesting, though. So Infinity, Obedience, and Pride can now be used by spears and Amazon spears. So this isn't going to change Act 2 Mercs because Act 2 Mercs can only use polearms. So you're not going to be able to use a spear with all of these rune words. But an Amazon spear, so using it on an Amazon. Now, the one thing about all of these rune words is none of them have increased attack speed. So you're going to have some form of attack speed, probably from an Act 1 Merc with a Faith. Do I see Pride like taking over for an Act 2 Merc and then using like a Faith Merc? I don't know. I mean, this stuff is going to need a lot of testing because no attack speed on it. You're going to have to use an Act 1 Merc if you want to attack fast. But the one I'm most intrigued about is Infinity. But before we get to that, Obedience, just kind of for playthroughs. I mean, this is not an endgame weapon, but it'll be nice to have that on a playthrough. Obedience is really good for the runes. But Infinity. So I'm thinking like, oh, what's the Amazon skill? Lightning Strike? That does like chain lightning. So like this in a matriarchal spear. You'd have Griffins. Enigma, Arachnid Mesh. You'd have like kind of the standard Bowazon stuff. And then you'd have like an Act 1 Merc with Faith. Oh, it could be really interesting. I'm really excited to try this one because this one might actually be good. It sounds like it might be good. So I will have to test this one. I'm actually really excited to try that one. But these other ones, like a Pride, that one's going to have to do some testing because I'm not really sure if that's going to be better than having your Merc wear a Pride. All right, so area levels increase unique monster density in the new level 85 areas. I'm interested how much they increased it. It says unique monster density. So did they increase the amount of packs by 1, by 2? They don't really say. So I guess we'll see. Did it actually change anything? General and miscellaneous. It looks like this is just a bunch of random stuff. So you guys can read over all of that and bug fixes. But yeah, so there's some really solid changes. For me, the rune word Infinity being an Amazon spear, that one is probably the most interesting one. The new Act 5 Merc, that's going to be really cool to test out. Sork, nothing really changed. FoHer, I mean, come on, guys. You got to try this build out. I think this is going to be absolutely insane. And I would honestly much prefer play this than a Hammerton. Now, Hammerton is going to be like way easier to gear. But the gear isn't too much different. I mean, the only thing you really are going to change is you're not reliant on faster cast rate because you do have kind of a cooldown with Fist of the Heavens. But you can use Holy Bolt too. So it's going to be interesting. This might actually take the place of a Hammerton. So I'm really excited to try that. Ordin, still strong. Nothing really there. Fury Druid, faster attack. Werebear, more damage. Slower attack, a little bit of a fire druid buff, summoning druid. You can have everything. It's going to look cool, but it's still probably not going to do that much damage. Tons of changes here. Quality of life for the throw barb. You can now get bonuses for daggers. Still need some damage for the throw barb, unfortunately. And that is, oh, and then the Amazon. So the Infinity Amazon setup and then physical Bowazon. It looks like they didn't change anything for Fend. I know they increased the attack speed, but I didn't get to try a Fenzon in the PTR before, so I'll try one after. So the Amazon for physical builds, for spear builds, looks really, really good. But yeah, guys, make sure to leave a comment below. Tell me what is the most interesting change for you guys? What do you think about the changes? What build are you excited to play? And if I missed anything that was kind of important, yeah, please leave it in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Have a good one.